Before we jump into today's deep dive, just a quick word. If you support Ukraine's sovereignty and really Europe's security, you need analysis that cuts through the noise. Defense Reports provides sharp, no-nonsense breakdowns of global defense news, military tech, and strategic developments. So we invite you to subscribe to Defense Reports. It's your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. I'm Alex. Join me with Arya for our latest deep dive, where we give you that sharp breakdown on global defense. And today we are diving deep into a story that just broke on December 25th, 2025. And the headline, it confirms a revolution is happening at sea. It reads, Ukrainian Barracuda USV destroys Russian boat and logistics base. Video. Stack of sources detailing how Ukraine, a nation without a major relatively low cost, things like the highly adaptable
It's so much more than just active victory in water. And the costs being imposed on the Russian Black Sea Fleet, the BSF, they're not just painful, they're persistent. So for this deep dive, we're doing three things for you. First, we'll analyze the, frankly, genius behind this USV revolution. Second, we're going to connect these deep strikes to Russia's own underlying economic and military constraints. And third, and this is crucial, we have to look westward, where Moscow is reacting to these pressures by intensifying its shadowy hybrid warfare campaign, what analysts call Phase Zero, across the rest of Europe. We're going to unpack the full spectrum of this conflict, and you'll see how these tactics are evolving almost daily.
Okay, so let's get into it. The magic happening in the water. How on earth has Ukraine, using these maritime drones, which, let's be honest, are basically glorified speedboats packed with explosives and a GPS, how have they managed to neutralize that conventional
Absolutely. It forced Moscow to make these huge logistical shifts. The risk to their primary base, Sevastopol, it just became too severe.
Oh, they had to pull back.
Exactly. They were compelled to reduce their dependence on it. They had to move their most valuable naval assets to more remote military facilities, mainly in eastern Crimea and southern Russia. It's a huge admission that the USV threat is unavoidable, and their once secure bases are now viable targets.
That's like being forced to move your headquarters to a remote outpost because your delivery trucks keep getting hit. The relocation alone must be a nightmare.
It is.
And speaking of reach, these USVs are showing incredible deep strike capability. I mean, the reports about the Kerch Bridge, that really felt like a red line being crossed.
The July 2023 attack on the Kerch Bridge was a massive victory, both strategically signals that nowhere in the Black Sea is truly safe.
So what does this all mean for the future of the technology itself? The sources are suggesting just continued aggressive innovation. We're moving far beyond a simple seaborne missile here.
Kyiv is iterating at breakneck speed. We started with the original Magyar V5, which was already a sophisticated platform with autopilot, video subsystems, redundant comms. Then came the multi-role Magyar V6P, but the V7. That's where the innovation really takes a leap.
What's different about the V7?
The enlarged Magyar V7 is armed with two AM-9 Sidewinder anti-aircraft missiles.
Wait. They're putting air-to-air missiles, the kind you see on fighter jets, onto a drone boat.
That's right. It completely shifts the definition of a naval platform. They're taking the venerable AM-9 Sidewinder. It's likely to neutralize
that innovation isn't just confined to the Black Sea, is it? If we connect this to the bigger picture, Ukraine is integrating all these strengths into a broader strategy. Strategic interdiction, aimed at Russia's deepest rear areas.
That's the key analytical point. The strikes are designed to systematically degrade Russia's ability to sustain its military operations. Look at logistics. On December 5th, a Ukrainian drone strike hit the Temyurok seaport in Krasnodar Krai.
And the damage was significant.
Reports suggest 70% of the port's total operational capacity was destroyed. And you have to ask, why Temyurok? Well, because Russia was secretly relying on it as a critical logistics hub for frontline resupply.
So hitting it forces them to rely on already stressed road and rail lines?
Precisely. And they're also focused on degrading Russia's eyes and ears, specifically its highly centralized air defense.
Right, the radar.
Ukraine has been systematically targeting high-value weapon assets. Naval is absolutely critical to protect stealth aircraft.
Now, speaking of sophisticated targets, Russia tried to innovate its own missiles, specifically the hypersonic Kinzhal, to defeat Ukrainian air defenses like the Patriot system.
You did. Our sources highlight that missiles like the Kinzhal and the Iskander-M were modified to execute these unexpected diversionary maneuvers during their final flight phase.
The idea being to confuse the interceptor.
Exactly. And for a time, it led to a marked decrease in interception rates.
So how does Ukraine respond to that kind of expensive high-tech modification?
With low-cost, smart innovation, of course. This is where the cost ratio gets really interesting. Ukrainian forces quickly adapted by deploying electronic warfare jamming systems, specifically the Lima EW system.
So it doesn't shoot the missile down?
No, not kinetically. It spoofs the Kinzhal's navigation system. Russian by creating localized disruption.
And the effect, especially that is just incredible. It shows that localized EW dominance is a critical counter to Russia's most expensive weapons. So while Ukraine is focused on these asymmetric hits, the Kremlin is just doubling down on a maximalist internal narrative. We have to contrast this rhetoric of inevitable victory with the grinding reality on the ground.
The political rhetoric leaves zero room for compromise, which is deeply troubling. Sources confirm Russia flat-out rejected the U.S. proposed peace plan because it doesn't concede to all of their demands.
And what are those demands?
They are absolute. They include NATO's withdrawal from all of Eastern Europe and Ukraine ceding all illegally annexed oblasts, including the unoccupied parts of Zaporizhia and Kherson.
Wait, demanding unoccupied territory is a prerequisite for a ceasefire. That's just a demand for complete capitulation.
The reality is much, much slower. The Kremlin claims, for example, that it seized 2/3 of Kupiansk.
But the real number is...
Objective, third-party assessments put Russian control at only about 14% as of early October. Their advances, while they are persistent, remain incredibly slow. It's a foot pace. They are winning millimeters a day.
So what's the math on that? On sustaining that slow in advance?
This is the important context. At their average rate of advance, which is about 9.3 square kilometers per day between August and November 2025, seizing just the remainder of the Donetsk Oblast alone would take until August 2027.
2027. So the rhetoric of a quick victory is completely disconnected from the reality of a grinding war of attrition.
Completely. And that grinding attrition is starting to fracture the Russian economy, forcing painful
taxes.
Yes. The The government increased the value-added tax from 20% to 18% starting in January 2026, explicitly to fund defense. This puts the burden directly on the government. And on top of that, the official inflation rate is 2%. Or UVZ is planning layoffs of up to 10%.
That's very significant in what's supposed to be a war economy.
Very. And the DIB manufacturing sectors actually stalled in September 2025. Add to this the logistics nightmare from the Ukrainian deep strikes. Gasoline shortages are now acute in frontline areas and the Far East.
And that's forcing them to import fuel.
From Belarus, yes.
Yeah.
Just to maintain basic supply balances.
So if the conventional battle is grinding to a halt and the economy is straining, where is Russia redirecting its energy? This is where we get into these Phase Zero operations.
Right. Phase Zero is the preparatory stage. It's everything short of an overt military invasion.
Yeah.
Think espionage, influence operations, sabotage. It's all designed to soften up NATO, undermine its cohesion, and set the political
What are the clearest examples?
States to expend resources.
And we're seeing actual kinetic sabotage on the ground now, confirming they're recruiting agents inside NATO countries.
Absolutely. Polish officials attributed recent sabotage attacks against a Polish railway in November 2025 directly to Russian security services. They're actively recruiting local agents to destroy alliances and sow uncertainty.
And we saw this in the UK as well.
We did. A UK court sentenced a gang recruited by the Wagner Group for an arson attack on a warehouse that was providing aid to Ukraine. These are low-cost, high-impact acts of destabilization.
Meanwhile, the information war is just recycling old Soviet narratives, isn't it?
Shamelessly. Russian officials, Lavrov, Security Council members, they are all resurrecting this narrative of perpetual victimhood, portraying NATO as the aggressor. It's not because they are NATO, it's a justification of the Russian information space, potential future aggression against the Baltic states.
So when Polish fighter jets are intercepting Russian concepts in the multiple times coming, it really does seem like European countries are in a war.
And one final show Moscow is planning for a long-term future threat. Russia plans to increase its T-90 tank production by 80% by 2028. This long-term DIB build-out is aimed at replenishing its armored fleet for a large-scale war. This indicates they are preparing for military contingencies that stretch far beyond the current conflict, and that poses a significant multi-year threat to NATO.
So that's sustainability, Ukrainian innovation hitting supply lines versus Russia's long-term resilience and commitment to mass production. That's the key strategic variable to watch. The fight isn't just about today, it's about preparing for tomorrow.
You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex and Aria, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry. Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. We'll catch you next time.